Hey, welcome back. Good to see you. Come on in. We saved a seat for you. This is Boards and Chords, and I'm Jonathan. And today we're going to talk about the Duel of Ages II board game. Now, Duel of Ages II, if you like miniature war games, but maybe you don't like so much the cost and painting of the miniatures themselves, Duel of Ages II might be the game for you. The premise of this game is this. In the distant future, the World Spanner Corporation entertains the masses with arena sports, yet they're not like those of today. Competitors assume the personas of archetypal heroes, anti-heroes, and others, taking on their combat and adventuring strengths and weaknesses, and banding together into two teams. These two teams are made up of real and fictional characters from ancient, colonial, modern, and future eras, and they strive with each other for achievements, favor, and final victory in the arena. The players in Duel of Ages II begin by forming themselves into two teams, a white team and a black team, and then they select from among 192 different characters, such as Jade the Unicorn, or Annie Oakley, or Spartacus, or a host of others. Some of these characters feature skills that favor adventuring, such as breaking into bases or solving era-based challenges, and others excel at combat. Your job as a player is to deploy your crew effectively to take advantage of their strengths, scoring enough victory points to ultimately defeat the other team. The action in Duel of Ages II takes place mainly across a number of chosen platters, which determine the terrain features such as high ground or tunnels, houses, and choke points. Adjacent and connecting these terrain platters, adventure zones, spawning zones, and team bases fill out the rest of the playing area. Played over a certain number of rounds, usually 10 to 20, the teams must, in this limited time, accomplish their strategy to gain the most points by the end. No one strategy is more universally superior than another, but it'll depend on the makeup of your team. Learning the significance of the skill values on your character cards will be crucial in successfully deploying your troops and resources for victory. Now, there's a lot more to the rules than what I've just gone over. That is really a high-level overview, and you'll need to take some time in the rule book to really understand how to play this game. But let's move on and talk about the components. As you can see here, this game is massive, massive, in all its expanded glory. We bought this game, the basic set, and its expansion, the master set, at the same time. So this review really considers both to be the same game. The expansion set doesn't change or add any rules. It just expands it and adds more of everything. More characters, more treasure cards, more platters, and just more. With the basic and master set, then Duel of Ages II claims the prize as the game on our shelf with the most components. There's several decks of standard size playing cards. These decks are large just in and of themselves. There's these large character cards. There are cardboard tokens for characters, for henchmen, other items. There's these platters, and there's adventure zones. There's other assorted tokens as well. Containing so much material, this is unsurprisingly and appropriate the most expensive game on our shelf at this time. The components themselves display beautiful artwork. The platters on the back side contain character artwork that inspire the imagination and convey the spirit of the persona offered to the player and the characters. In addition to the lovely character art, the front of the character cards will have a myriad of stats and icons conveying the strengths and weaknesses of the individuals on the card. On the reverse side is a brief story snippet capturing in a snapshot the essence of the character and their place in the history and fiction of the World Spanner world. Reading through all of the backstories on the cards is entertaining in itself, and together with all the other cards, as they interweave with each other, they tell stories that bring some of the unknown characters to life in the imagination and make them that much more fun to play in the game. I really have no particular or real complaint about the components, except for that I have made in other games with lots of pieces, and that is storage. It's not easy to store a game of this size without being fairly creative. If a storage solution makes it easy to set up and pack up the game, it's even better because it makes it that much more likely to get onto our game table. The best storage solution that we've come by that doesn't involve cutting and making custom boxes for the game involves mainly the use of coin collector pages stored in a 3-ring binder. In these pages, we've sorted the characters and the henchmen, sentinel tokens in order by type and the number printed on the respective cards. You can see we've got them slotted into the coin holders with a page behind them and their number and their label. Makes it easier to figure out where they go and what they are. It makes it for a far easier method of finding the map markers needed for each of these during the game without having to sort through a bunch of plastic baggies. So this was a huge help for us whenever we discovered this. I found this solution on Board Game Geek, and I will link in the description or the show notes where we found this, so you can maybe you can replicate this if you wish to do so. In addition to this, we've also printed out on cardstock tuck boxes for all these many card decks that we have, and this is a huge help in setting up, sorting, storing these cards for the game. I've got them printed out in black and white, but I'll also link to a section in Board Game Geek that has the files that you can download in PDF for the color versions of these if you want to print them out in color, and you can cut those out and assemble them for your card decks. Makes it a huge help for sorting, believe me. There's also a resource site for Duel of Ages on the producer's website, and they have some instructions on how you can build some card storage trays. But with the tuck boxes and the notebook solution that we have, I'm able to get all of the game components into the 2 boxes of the basic and master set that they came in. So that's good. I like that a lot. But also on the rule set, on the resource pages rather, of the Duel of Ages II website, you can download the basic and master rule sets, as well as some rules clarifications and video tutorials, and I think you'll want to go through those as you're learning this game. So of course I'll link to those in the description as well. So what's it been like as we play? A few years back, we decided that we wanted to invest in board gaming as a major family activity and hobby. So we purchased Duel of Ages II as one of our first after watching some video tutorials and reading the rule book from their website. Since then, we've played it several times, and it remains among the ones that has generated some of our best gaming memories. One thing, I love how replayable this game is. We play it with a random draw of characters where I use a random number generator on my phone to select 12 characters per team, and then the members of the teams can decide 8 of those to play with. Usually we play with 3 platters like we have here, so each team will select one and then we pick a third one to go in at random. Finally, we take turns placing the platters and connecting the bases with the keys and the adventure zones until the map is constructed. And so this makes for a unique playing field each time we play. I also love how this game builds a story each time within its strong theme. What group of character avatars will we get this time? What will the terrain and the map look like as we assemble it together? And how will they be laid out? What will the cards that we draw, how will it affect where we place our characters on the map and move them through? What exciting moments of tension and adventure will emerge, and what unlikely hero will make that perfect shot that turns the game around? These are the moments that build the story that we'll be talking about over the years as we remember these game sessions. This game also has a great tactical and strategic value. While the versatility required by the players and the random draw character selection we use forces quick thinking and strategizing, it may also be that some of the other character drafting methods could be used, such as a round robin player's choice or alternating team picking, allowing for players to learn and develop strategies and synergies for particular groups of characters in a team. Whatever the method, once the characters begin deploying on the field, the team that ultimately wins in most cases will be the one that forms a good strategy for their team and then tactically and effectively maneuver turn by turn to score points. There are, however, some features of this game that some will view as negatives, and that indeed keep this from being a frequent selection from our game table. The main ones to my mind are the complexity of the rules and the length of the game. These factors prove rather daunting when we are deciding what game to play, and we often end up choosing something else to play instead. First, the rules are really complicated, so much so that the rule book suggests 6 specific and successive starting missions to play in order to learn the game mechanic. 6. That's 6 trial games. So you reading through the 24-page rule book, and then possibly another 30-page one from online if you get the Master's Compendium, followed by 6 learning games. This makes for quite a learning curve to get into the real games. If you aren't playing regularly, expect to need some remedial training in the rules when you do play. Also, Duel of Ages II is a really long game. If you have a group that is very familiar with the rules and have elected to play a short variant, you may be able to finish the game in the 1.5 hours that the rules predict. But for our family, even the shorter games tend to last many times longer than that, easily sitting out on our table for 6 or 8 hours of playtime over a week or more. And this, again, is one of the shorter versions of the game. The longer variants with larger maps will likely take much longer than this, and we haven't even dared the longer games yet. Lastly, although it may not be such an issue for us as it might be for some, because of our storage solutions that we've come up with and found, setup and cleanup are always a factor in these long games with lots of components. Happily, we have these coin pages and tuck boxes, and that helps greatly reduce the extra time investment of setup and cleanup. But for those who don't have an organizer of some sort, setup and cleanup will take a significant and additional time. Even if you do have a good organization like we do, expect 30 minutes of setup time as teams are chosen and the playing area are built and card decks are shuffled and arranged even before you get into the deck, the game proper. Finally, we do need a large playing area. I've got this set up here on our 5 foot by 3 foot table, but it's really not nearly enough room for people to play on comfortably. We'll need to put together 2 tables or play on our large dining room table to be able to play in this game comfortably. All right, so for family friendliness, honestly, this Duel of Ages game is no Candyland. Of course, this is one of the appealing aspects in my mind, but the complexity and depth that draws me as an adult causes me also to hesitate for a hearty endorsement as a family game. As I mentioned before, the complex rules and length of the game mean that many children will have difficulty understanding the nuances of the rules and the strategy needed, especially if they're playing against competitive older siblings or parents. The length of time may cause your youngsters also to lose interest during the course of the game. As this game with the Master expansion easily costs more than the next 3 most expensive games combined, please do carefully consider your play group before you buy this. Now, Duel of Ages has elements of both team play as well as competitive conflict, so opportunities exist for refinement in your kids of the positive aspects of collaboration and good sportsmanship that we want to encourage in them with board gaming anyway. However, since it is a war game of sorts, parents need to be aware that there will almost always be violent action going on in this game with the intention of elimination or incapacitation of the opponent player's characters. This is a board game, so the violent action is not graphically depicted, but it is implied by the game mechanics. So it's really mild in its depiction, but it is still there. The artwork in the game of the characters, they feature realistic but tasteful art of the characters without the hunky, sexy illustrations frequently found in archetypical hero art, fantasy, and that sort of thing. Nor does it appear to have any profanity or substance abuse. The other caution that I would give about the character artwork would be some of the more monstrous avatars that might be disturbing to younger kids. But these do constitute a minority of the characters in the game. So that is what I'll just leave you with that, and then you can show you some examples in the video, and then you can make some determinations on your own of that. All right, so let's talk about strategy then. Today's strategy tips come from user Spitfire IXA from Board Game Geek, and I will link in the description to that for you to get the more expanded version of it. But with a beginner's tip, the beginners, you start in the game by picking your teams. So let's talk about team building. The most important beginner's tip that I can think of for this would be to say pick your team wisely. And this will help you to succeed more often in the game. So you'll want to, as much as you can, make sure you have the bases covered in your teams, and that will be looking at the numbers on the that would be right-hand side of the card, and try to have the team that you pick complement each other in terms of the skills that you're high in. So you will hopefully not have all of the same characters being high in all the same things. Especially you'll want to look for the strength, intellect, honor, respect, and wits. Those are the main ones that you want to have covered in these characters in terms of having high scores in those areas. These will be the most help in your succeeding in the team-based challenges and the Labyrinth Guardians. After that, try to have the main fighting skills covered by your characters. And that would include melee, aim, point, throw, react, and stealth. You'll find a good reference card included in the game for these, as you'll be able to tell what they are by looking at that during the course of the game if you need a refresher. So the pro tip then would be, as you're thinking again about what characters to choose, another choice that you can make in there that would be helpful is to try to get the most turns in the course of the game. Well, if you get more turns than your opponent's team, then that means you'll have more opportunities to accomplish your objectives. So the way that the game works here is the higher respect characters deploy on the map first and early in the game. So what you'll want to do then is, if you can pick characters that have high respect as the majority of your characters, you'll place them out there on the board first, and thus they will have more turns than the other players, lower respect characters, because they'll be out there taking turns as they're still deploying characters, so you'll have more overall turns with those characters than the opponents will. And that will help you get a head start on your opponents with the lower average respect. That gives you an advantage you can use to take the lead and keep it. Staying on the offensive can help keep the other team reacting to your moves to try to stop your advance and scramble to catch up. So those are the two strategy tips I would have for you. So my final thoughts on this game, let me just tell you about what I love about it. This game is a great strategy game. So coming up with the strengths of and the weakness of the characters that you have and deciding how you want to win the game can be really fun. And the theme of this game, as I've said earlier, makes for some great stories as you're moving your characters around the board. I can just remember a time where I was using Annie Oakley to run across a map, and she had, as you might expect, a rifle which she was very good at shooting. So she would stop into buildings and take pot shots at the chasing enemies, and it was a great game of cat and mouse as she would run and snipe and hide, and it just made for some great memories. And as you know, with these kinds of games, I love story and I love theme, and if I can walk away from a game feeling like we've told a great story and had a great adventure in the game itself, then I'm just as happy as I can be. So if you are the same and you love story and theme, this game is hugely rich with both, and I think you'll like it as well. So with that, that'll bring to the end of our episode, and I hope that you have enjoyed it. If you do, please subscribe, please comment and like the video or the podcast, and visit me on my other social media outlets and on the website for more gamer information and reviews. Until next time, this is Jonathan saying goodbye. Thanks for joining us on Boards and Chords. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or at our website at boardsandchords.com. We'll see you at the table.